Chapter 5, Lesson 5, Compare and Order Rational Numbers. You will be able to compare and order rational numbers. Positive and negative rational numbers can be represented on a number line. You can use a number line to help you compare and order rational numbers. Fill in the box with less than, greater than, or equal to make a true statement. Letter A, negative 1.2 and positive 0.8. It doesn't matter what the numbers are. If you have a positive versus a negative, the positive will always be greater. So negative 1.2 is less than 0.8. Letter B, we have two negative numbers. If you think of a number line, let's draw one down here. We'll do negative 1 and negative 2. Okay. This is about halfway. So negative 1.4 is about here. And negative 1.25 is about here. Okay. So here we have those plotted on the number line. When you're looking at numbers on a number line, the number furthest to the right is the larger number. So if we're comparing just these two numbers, negative 1.25 is further right, which means negative 1.25 is greater. So negative 1.40 is less than negative 1.25. Another way to think about it, if you think of these as positive numbers, 1.40 and 1.25, 1.40 would be bigger. But because they're negatives, just flip-flop that sign. So therefore, negative 1.40 is less than negative 1.25. Again, because they're negative numbers. So we have to kind of have an opposite way of thinking. Letter C, negative 4.5 and negative 4.49. Again, if these were positive numbers, 4.5 is greater than 4.49. Remember, you can put a 0 there. So I like to think of it as money. $4.50, $4.49. This is bigger. However, because we have negative numbers, all I got to do is flip that sign. So negative 4.5 is less than negative 4.49. Okay? Letter D, negative 3/8 and negative 5/16. Well, I'm going to make common denominators here. 16 will be my least common denominator, so I'm going to multiply this first fraction, numerator and denominator, by 2. So we are comparing negative 6 over 16 and negative 5 over 16. Again, remember, if they were positive numbers, this would be bigger, but they're not positive, so this is bigger. So negative 6/16, or in other words, negative 3/8, is less than negative 5 over 16. Letter E, again, common denominators, looks like 10. We are least common denominator, so I'll multiply this fraction, top and bottom, by 2. Bring down that negative sign, and we get negative 8/10 versus negative 7/10. If they were positive, this number would be bigger, but they're not. They're negative, so the other number is bigger. Negative 7/10 is greater than negative 4/5. Letter F. They're already, and we have common denominators. So again, if they were positive, this one would be bigger, but they're negative, so that one's bigger. Negative 9/16 is greater than negative 12/16. Compare and order rational numbers. To compare and order rational numbers, first write them in the same form. Fill in the box with less than, greater than, or equal to make a true statement. So here again, you can decide, do I want to change them to decimals, percents, fractions? The easiest way in most problems is to change them to decimals. Okay, if I were to change this to a fraction, it'd be negative 51 over 100, but then I would have to make common denominators with 115. And since 15 doesn't go into 100 evenly, it'll make matters a little bit more difficult. So instead what I'm going to do is change this fraction into a decimal. Remember, fractions are just division. So 15 into 8. 15 can't go into 8, but into 80, let's try 6. That was too much, so it's definitely 5. So 75, so it goes in 5 minus 75 is 5. Bring down the 0. 15 into 50 is 3 times. That one I know is 45. Subtracting, get 5. Bring down a 0. And it looks like we're going to have a repeating decimal. Okay, 0.53 repeating. So this is negative 0.53 repeating. If they were positive, 53 hundredths would be bigger, but they're negative, so negative 51 hundredths is greater than negative 8 fifteenths. Letter B. Again, I'm going to change this into a decimal. Well, this right here, when we have a mixed number, just worry about the fraction portion first. So 8 into 5, 0, into 50 6 times, which is 48. Subtracting, get 2. Bring down a 0. It goes into 20 twice, which is 16. Subtract to get 4. Bring down a 0. And it goes into 40 exactly 5 times. Subtract and get 0. Now this 0.625 gets attached to this negative 3. So negative 3.625. And if I'm comparing this number with this number, they are exactly the same. So an equal sign in between them. Order each set of rational numbers as indicated, least to greatest. Now sometimes it might be easier to change them to fractions. Okay, I've got some nice numbers, 25, 10, or denominators I should say, 25 and 10. This is easily put into a fraction, and since these two are already fractions, let's see what we can do. So just like we did this in previous lessons, I'm going to list my numbers vertically over here in their original form. Now what I want to do is I want to actually make these all common denominators. Well, 25 and 10 would be 50 or 100. Let's see what this one would be. Negative 2.46 is negative 2 and 46 hundredths. So why don't we make them all out of 100? So if we multiply top and bottom here by 4, we get negative 2 and 88 hundredths. And here we'll multiply top and bottom by 10 to get 100. And we get negative 2 and 10 hundredths. Now let's order them. Remember, they're negative numbers, so we have to think backwards. We're going the smallest number to the biggest number. So think the number furthest to the left on the number line. The number furthest to the left would be negative 2 and 88 hundredths. And then it would be negative 2 and 46 hundredths. And negative 2 and 10 100ths. Again, remember I'm going least to greatest. So if I'm thinking backwards, and these were all positive, greatest to least would be 1, 2, 3. Okay? But they're negatives. So again, 1, 2, 3, greatest to least. So in our original form, negative 2 and 22 25ths, negative 2.46, and negative 2 and 1/10. Letter D, this time greatest to least. Okay, so write them in their original form. It's negative 7 and 13 20ths, negative 7.78, and negative 7 and 17 hundredths. Here again, I think it'd be a nice, it would be a lot easier if I change them to fractions, since 2 are already fractions and they're easily they can easily have common denominators. So this would be negative 7 7/78. I'm going to leave the denominator as 100 and bring this one over. Negative 7 17/100. And this one I can multiply top and bottom by 5 and get negative 7. I know the denominator is 100. Let's do some quick math here. 13 times 5. It's like 65 over 100. Again, they are negative numbers. I want the biggest number, which really, if I'm thinking opposite, is the one that appears to be smallest. So this is the biggest, then the second biggest, and the smallest. In their original forms, it would be negative 7 17/100, then negative 7 13/20, and negative 7.78. Mr. Plum's science class is growing plants under different conditions. The table shows the difference from the average for some students' plants. Order the differences from least to greatest. Again, I want the same form. This time I'm going to switch things up and change everything to decimals. I already have two that are decimals, and we'll change these two. They're already listed here, so I'm just going to go off of here. Negative 1 7/10, that's simple. Negative 1 7/10. It's a power of 10. I don't have to do that division. If you feel the need to, go ahead, but you would still get negative 1 7/10, negative 1.7. This is already 1.7. This is already negative 2.2. 3 1/4 would be 3 point something. If you're not sure what 1/4 is as a decimal, let's do the division. 4 goes into 1 0 times. 4 goes into 10 twice. Minus 8 is 2. Bring down a 0. 4 goes into 20 5 times. Minus 20 is 0. So it's 3.25. So now, and these aren't negative signs, let me make these arrows so we don't get confused here. Okay, so least to greatest. The smallest number has to be one of the two negative numbers. So it's negative 2.2. Okay. Then we have Lenora with negative 1.7. As we keep getting bigger, we have Suni with 1.7. And then Ricky with 3 1/4. Now, this said to label the differences from least to greatest, which is what I did. However, if it told me to label the students from least to greatest, I would, instead of writing the numbers, write the names. So be careful what the question is asking you.